The Salem County Chamber of Commerce is pleased to present a workshop on artificial intelligence, brought to you by Atlantic City Electric, PSEG Nuclear, and Salem Community College.
What is AI? AI is really any kind of software that mimics human behavior. It can learn from our interactions, handle repetitive tasks, and handle some automation. Why is AI suddenly everywhere? Two main reasons is the amount of data that's out there and this software has access to. The internet, parallel computing, big data, it's a wealth of information that is searchable. Human language part. So being able to understand human language rather than like computer input programs, we can actually ask a computer in plain human language what we want and it'll give it back to us. Also, the massive investments in AI since 2021, over $160 billion invested in AI, and it's just growing. 4 different types of AI. We have reactive machine AI, limited memory, theory of mind, and self-aware. So to go into this a little bit, over the next few slides, we're going to have a little bit of fun. So we're going to have a few movie references, and if somebody can shout out what the movie is, we'll get, what's that? There you go. So just to have a little bit of fun with this, but an example of reactive machine AI is really like a computer opponent in a video game. You've got like old chess, computer chess, things like that. You even see it in some modern games, although some modern games are starting to utilize some of the more advanced AI. Limited memory AI is what we're hearing about today. So that's your generative AI, like things like ChatGPT, chatbots, Copilot, which is what we're going to center our demonstration around today and workshop. Gemini, you have your computer assistants like Siri and Alexa, self-driving cars. So limited memory AI that actually learns and stores information that you put in, and learns from you and from the information put into it. Theory of mind AI. Movie reference, anyone?
2001.
Very good, awesome. All right, a little tougher. This one?
The alien.
Very good, awesome. So theory of mind AI, that is a type of AI that can predict the mental state of others. Like right now, there are some AIs out there that can recognize facial expressions and determine the emotion that somebody is feeling and react to that. It has some level of intuition. It is not self-aware. There are some experimental AI models out there currently close to achieving this, but this is still a little bit future, but we're right on that edge. And then we're going to get into self-aware AI. All right, we'll do the movie references first. So what's this one over here?
Wally.
Nah, well, Wally's one. What's it? No.
No, that was Johnny 5.
Johnny 5.
The movie reference.
Short Circuit.
It's short circuit.
This one?
That's Terminator.
Terminator. Got it. And then a little tougher. What's the workshop about?
AI.
That's the name of the movie, AI.
That's not a new.
I believe that was Will Smith, a little newer. And then probably the toughest one. You have to be a child of the 80s to get this one, I think. Blade Runner. It's the old Blade Runner and the new Blade Runner. All right, so self-aware AI is really science fiction, and that's really why I put these movie references here, because We're just not there yet. I know there's a lot of fear out there around self-aware AI and it taking over the world like Skynet and Terminator, but that's just not reality. Getting a machine to the point that it's almost like a life form, that we're very far from that. But just some attributes of what self-aware AI would be. It would have emotions. It would be able to pass the Turing test. We're just not there. So how can small business leverage AI? It can do your task and meeting scheduling. It can help with customer service. It can do competitive analysis, personalized marketing, content creation, social media management, research and product development. And we're going to jump into a little bit of the analysis, customer service, content creation, and social media today. So we've got some demonstrations from the real world perspective to go through. There are some risks associated with AI. Whatever we put into it, it remembers. We don't want to be putting confidential data into AI. Basically, the rule of thumb is if you think that the information could be used to harm you or anyone else, don't put it in there. And by harm, it could be get their information, identity theft, whatever it may be. You just don't want to put anything confidential into AI.
Can I add something to that, Larry?
Sure.
I recently did a workshop myself on AI. So a lot of the paid services, which we'll cover a little bit of that here today, will protect your data. That is one of the paid services that they provide, is that when you put the information in, it is your information. They're not going to use it to feed back into these models of information. So while you do have to be very aware of using, especially the free services, it's not as a concern when you start looking at the paid services.
Right.
By the way, some of the paid services are not that expensive.
And security is still evolving around AI.
Yes.
A lot of people are familiar with the term ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini. ChatGPT is its own thing. Gemini is Google, and Copilot is Microsoft. So these are all what's referred to as prompts, where you basically tell it you want something, it spits it back out to you. So when you hear the word prompt or AI prompt, that's really what they're referring to. So some use cases for small business: rewriting or writing emails, memos, letters, how to do something, how to perform a task, developing policies and procedures, managing social media posts or developing them, and then generating images for marketing. So when using an AI prompt, what you put into it is going to determine what you get back. You want to be detailed when you enter what you want into an AI prompt. So if you just say, generate a recommendation letter for Samantha Brewer, it's going to give you something very generic. But if you say, give me a recommendation letter for Samantha Brewer, focusing on her promptness, her attention to detail, writing skills, verbal skills, then it's going to elaborate on those areas and be much more robust. So you want to be descriptive. We're going to go ahead and throw into the prompt. So you're going to see that this is very straightforward. It's kind of basic. It took some things, it ad-libbed a little bit, right? Saying 50% off, throwing some pricing in there that we didn't ask for or didn't necessarily want. So if we want these things to be more accurate to what we're trying to do, we would want to put in, a computer type. Let's say it's a gaming computer. We would want to put in maybe 20% off instead of 50% off.
One of the good things about these is that it knows what the previous
Yes, it does.
So I don't have to type in the whole question again. I can just reference the fact that I typed something in. Although, you'll get the hang of sometimes you have to put more, sometimes you have to put less, sometimes it'll forget what was there before. But anyway, so you see here now that it's gaming computers, 20% off all models.
Yep. And of course, we could continue to tailor this with, the different name brands that it's showing, some of the pricing. And like Mark said, it knows what you're working on. And it will remember that. It'll remember that until you hit the new chat button up here. And then you'll start working on something else.
I just told it to add a graphic to the ad.
Okay. That was coming up, but
Yeah.
it's fine. Yeah, image generation does take a little bit, and you'll see once this image is created that there are some drawbacks to image development. I think you got to scroll back down. There you go. Yeah, here we go. It did good here, right? You can read everything, but what's this? So you really you can't just say generate something, grab it, and go. You really have to take a look at it and make sure that there aren't any errors in it like this. All right. Any questions about that example before we jump into the next thing? Yeah, go ahead.
So there's not the ability to edit?
Yeah, we could say, okay, just say add 20% off to the image. That should generate another one and have the 20% off in there.
And you can tell it which one you like better. And
Yep. And you can copy and paste right from there.
Yeah. So it's going to create a whole new image. So sometimes it'll use the image that you see before. So if there's something you like about it, you might want to then take an image and then move it to somewhere where you can do more image stuff. But
Here we go.
there's things like still.
So you can see there's still some shortcomings to
Yeah, the L supply.
the image generation, but I did want to show that it can do stuff like this, but it might take some tweaking to your point. You might just have to keep, using the prompts to kind of get it where you want it. All right.
What app is this?
This is Copilot right here.
This is Copilot.
Microsoft Copilot.
You have to pay for that?
We have it through our Office 365 subscription, but yes, there is a free version, but the free version is limited, and I don't think Copilot does image generation on the free version.
So,
It used to, but only limited number of.
I thought Gemini was the one that would give you that.
It's literally changing. Like,
Yeah. A lot of these, they all have free versions.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, you can use that inside of ChatGPT
Okay.
to generate that image.
But yeah, all of these,
talking about the free versus the not free, is it still the same thing with Copilot? Like the free version, you have to watch out for more than the paid version of the same?
they're going to give you pretty much the same thing, but they're going to limit you on the number of prompts before it starts asking you to pay.
The data would be not as secure. If you're using any free version, you have to look, there are some AI tools out there that are the free version that will also keep your data safe, but on a very limited basis. But you have to do your research when you're doing, using whatever tool that we're going over a few here today, but there's actually like many more. So they're coming out
Yep.
a lot, very fast.
Yeah, we're really focusing on the big three, which are ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini. You had a question?
So I have a question regarding like copyright, because there's only so many prompts people are gonna put in, and what if it generates something you created and then somebody else uses it, but you publish what you used to create it with?
I can actually handle that one. There are pending court cases, but right now, anything generated directly from AI is not copyrightable.
Okay.
You have to, and image is a little bit different because you can't edit these, but if you take text
Yeah.
and you just paste it, there's no copyright. You didn't create it, the machine did. Right now, there's no laws to protect that.
Yeah.
If you substantially change it, then it becomes your work, But that's what's being argued in the courts right now, is what is that substantial change, like what's that threshold?
Yeah,
Right.
because if you go back in and you ask it to change based on what you're trying to create, when does that cross that? Right.
And how do they tell the difference that you wrote it versus?
Yeah.
Hard to tell.
Right, because you could type the same thing one day into a prompt, get one result. Like what you got back today was not what I got back when I was developing the presentation. So it's not like they can replicate what you put in that first time either. So that just muddies the waters even more. I think we can jump back to the presentation to the next example. All right, we talked a little bit about, that a lot of the applications want you to sign up for or pay for image generation. We already did the picture. All right, so let's generate an Instagram post for that same computer sale. And you can actually take this from the one that's not playing and just copy that right into the prompt. You'll see when you talk about social media posts, it puts a lot of the little icons, emojis. It gives you your hashtags when you ask for social media content. And it did add the URL that we asked for. So we entered something detailed in, and we got almost exactly what we wanted back. That's where the detail matters that you put in. All right.
And you can copy it right from here and then post it into your.
Yeah, you can put it right into your social media platform. All right, and then we're going to generate an email, and you'll see that that'll look a little bit different. And there we go. All right.
And it'll get small.
And you can see the formatting's a little bit different. It added some bullets in. There's little icons. There's less of those, no hashtags. It gives us the phone number and email that we asked for, and it closes it out where you can put in your information about your organization. But you can see how this can help with small business. It saves time. It can at least get you a baseline. You copy it out, put it in, and then edit. So let's move over into developing a policy. So me being in IT, this was the first thing that came to mind, was acceptable use for computing resources. So we can just copy and paste that right in. What we're going to try and do is develop a policy for acceptable use of computers. We're being detailed in what we're asking. So we're asking for a detailed policy for a retail store, right? These are the keywords. The acceptable use, and then we're asking it to be specific for each topic, including specifics for each sub-item. If we were to put this in with just give me a policy, it's going to be a very generic boilerplate, and it's not going to be very extensive. So we're being detailed to get the most robust policy right off the bat.
You see, it's created a lot.
Yep.
I'll go back up to the top.
So we're not going to go through this line by line, but you can see that it gives you some formatting. You would want to edit this, but this gives you a really good baseline. So this is the stuff that is standard across the board for this type of policy. So if you needed this type of policy for your organization or establishment, you could copy this out, and then you can add your own detail into it. Instead of having to write all of this from scratch, it's already done for you. And then, like I said, you just edit and add or remove.
And it does a pretty good job.
It really does, because I read through the whole thing, and it's pretty good.
Internet use and email use, software and hardware, social media. So got some good.
All right. And I,
Also gonna write RFQs, RFPs, other things like that.
yep, you could do things like that. It'll establish a baseline.
Proposals for grants, it can all be written, and then you
Yep,
detail what you need.
exactly. Yep.
Saves a lot of time.
You're always going to have to custom tailor it, It's never going to get it right the first time because it doesn't know you, doesn't know your company, doesn't know exactly what you need. But yes, it's a time saver because it gets that basic stuff out of the way.
And how does it start to know you? Is it by your email? Is that how, like, it's referenced? And you and I ask the same thing. How does it know? How's it more tailored to you?
You could ask it to add certain things based on you, but it's not going to know you specifically. That's why you have to get the kind of that baseline, get as much as you can up front, and then go back in and tailor it to you or your organization. All right, so jumping into procedures, a little different. So we can throw this in there. It's a comprehensive step-by-step procedure. Oop. I thought it moved. For an employee reconciling a cash register daily. We're just going to add this first part right now, and then we'll add this after. So again, just basic stuff, just things I could think of. Retail establishment, cashier, reconciling their cash drawer at the end of the day. You want a procedure for that. So instead of a policy, this is more of a how-to. You can say it's really basic. So securing cash and documents, right? So let's say that's not good enough for me and I want to add some more detail about that. So we can just tell it, add more detail about handling cash securely. So this really expanded upon handling cash, right? So what you could do is have that other policy that you can still go back up to. You could copy that out, and then you could add this detail in, and you could do that for each different section. So that's just how, once you have your baseline, you can start expanding on each little item that's underneath of it, each sub-item, each topic. Any questions about that? It can help with your employee handbooks. It can generate your baseline there too. So I would just do this whole thing. So we're going to create a baseline employee handbook for retail, detailed policies and procedures for each topic, commonly used PTO details for retail, and typical longevity increases for PTO. All right, so we start off with the table of contents. We get our intro. You can see that these are not that detailed, but because we focused in on PTO, that's a little more detailed. It gives us the longevity that we asked for, and it gives us a little bit of the accrual based on standard practice. Any questions on that? All right, so we can use it to rewrite and enhance things that we have in our head that we're not really, it's not really coming to us how to put it like eloquently or whatever. So we can have it rewrite something, something very basic thoughts, put it into the prompt and see what you get back. So I want to talk about how good Kevin is at his job because he's always on time, he knows his stuff and puts in work after hours. So let's throw that in there. All right, and you can see how that made it much more clear. So Kevin excels at his job due to his punctuality, expertise, and dedication, often putting in extra hours to ensure everything runs smoothly. So it took that basic caveman speak, if you will, and turned it into something that I can then, share with others.
So it took out stuff and added expertise.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. It knew what I wanted based on what I was saying. And then we can add in some of the other things, like focus on communication. Or add communication skills, something like that. So if I was doing Kevin's evaluation, and I really wanted to save time, I kind of know what I want to say. I can say it very basically, and then have this make it more eloquent. or professional. So now it's pretty much the same thing, and then additionally, his strong communication skills enable him to effectively collaborate with colleagues and clients. So you still might want to tailor this a little bit, but it does a pretty good job with this. Any questions on that?
Yeah, this feature I use a lot. Let's say I want to put this in an email to a boss or somebody. I can say, okay, write a formal letter, an email.
Yes.
With this information.
Exactly.
If I just want to write it like a friend, say, write a friendly letter to so-and-so with this information.
Exactly.
It changes the entire, the language pattern so that one's more formal, one's more casual.
Yep.
I can say, write one to my friend who lives in, the country, one of those in the city. I mean, it assumes certain things to make sure that the assumptions are correct.
Yes.
It changes the patterns based on what it thinks people sound like or talk like in certain aspects of local geography. So.
Yep, it'll, like you said, it'll change the language, it'll change the format based on whether it's a letter, like you said, or a memo, or just plain text, so.
So you can, to your point, we're rewriting this in the tone of Weird Al.
What's behind it, Larry?
Yeah, to the word yeah.
There you go, yep.
Put back stuff.
All right. All right, we ready for the next one? All right, so now I'm just going to go through a couple inexpensive, easily accessible tools that can apply to small business. The first example is going to be Zoho Analytics. So it allows you to import different types of files. This is really for analytics. You can upload Excel, Google Sheets, files from Google Drive, SQL databases, Facebook ads, website feeds, what have you. Now this is paid. It's very inexpensive. I think it was under $700 a year or something like that, if I remember right. I thought I had put the price in here. Yeah, oh, yeah, this one was very inexpensive. So about $288 a year for 2 users and 500,000 rows of data. So what this allows you to do is upload something and do some AI analysis on it. And then the other AI-driven app is from the same company, Zoho, and that's going to be their social media platform. And let me go here. And that's Zoho Social. This is a really nice social media platform. And what it does is it uses AI to go out to all of the different social media platforms that you connect to it, and it gives you analytics. So right here, at a glance, I can see my Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube accounts, and I can see follower trends up and down, new followers, number of posts, how many people are reaching, how many people are engaging, and this is just at a glance as soon as I log in. Of course, there's a lot more power underneath of this. This isn't really a demo of this application, but I thought it was important to show that this AI is now being integrated into the applications that we use. Many of you that use Amazon, you're probably seeing now when you look at reviews. When you scroll down to the reviews, the first thing you see before you get into the individual reviews is an AI rendering that takes all of the keywords that are in those individualized reviews and kind of summarizes it. So it'll tell you people are really happy with the quality of this product, or the price of this product, or the durability, things like that. One other AI app, so like our email filter here, that's got AI built in now, the spam filter. In the past, it was built on a database. We would have to submit things to it, and it would build a database based on the things that we were feeding it, and it wasn't great. So now AI is actually going in because the scam and spoofing and fraud, they've gotten so good that now it takes AI to go through, review these, pick out different languages, grammatical errors, and then it will flag those things as spam. So just another example of an AI-driven application. But with that, I'll open it up to any questions about anything we've seen.
What you were just talking about with the emails. So when I send out my email weekly, some of them go in spam, some of it doesn't. How do I get it from going into spam? Is there a way? Because it wasn't, and now it is.
I would take a look at the language that you're using in it and just kind of look at it from the perspective, if I'm an AI or I'm a person receiving this, are there any words or language in there that might, this is tough to do. I mean, we send out emails too, and they go to junk.
Yeah.
We send, it just happens because and that's kind of a downside to AI because it's not perfect, and it probably never will be. And it looks at certain things, and if it matches that, then it's going to flag it as spam. So really it's just reviewing what you're sending out to hopefully not trigger AI in some way. But again, that's very difficult. And
Yeah, 'cause
you really don't want to
send on
spend your
Monday.
life
Yeah.
trying to avoid the AI, flagging AI.
What's, in your opinion, for somebody that's never used this, what's the most user-friendly?
Any of those three, ChatGPT, Copilot, or Gemini, they all work pretty much the same way. It's just that prompt, you plug in what you want and it's going to spit it back at you. And actually, I encourage you to use all three because they have some subtle differences and it will give you different results. So maybe you didn't like what Copilot gave you back. Throw it in Gemini, it might give you a little bit better result. It'll definitely give you a different result. But yeah, those three are the easiest ones to jump into, and they all have free versions.
Microsoft stuff is integrated with Copilot mostly, so.
Well, you had a question in the back.
Yeah, I was going to respond a little bit to a question about emails. So through my work, they have a spam filter that filters out anything that's sent as like a mass email.
Mm-hmm.
So we're advised as we're salespeople, right? My team does sales. They have to send a 1-to-1 ratio email. They can't ever send an email and send it to multiple recipients. Or then it gets flagged by most people's boxes that it's going to be spam. The words necessarily, like at the top and stuff, like in the subject, don't always pull it. But if it's a multiple email to multiple people, if they do, they get stopped.
Yeah, the number of recipients can definitely be a factor. I don't know what your case is. I don't know if you're sending this as an individual through an organization, because if it's through a larger organization, then to your point, they could have some controls in place that are also contributing to it being marked as spam for some. And the recipients, like my Gmail does a better job at filtering out what it thinks is spam than Yahoo. So it depends on the recipient too. I think that situation is just going to be a reality. I don't know if you're really going to be able to do too much to fix that. And then, question.
So, I'm in commercial real estate, I send a lot of emails, I get a lot of emails. Are there any programs with Copilot that would extract the email addresses and put them into a database, like automatically? That would be the most advantageous thing for me, and like register like certain key terms of what they're emailing me about.
I've never had a use case for that, so it's not something I've explored, but I'm happy to look into that for you. I'm sure something exists. So Jennifer, if you get me the information to get back to you.
Send that to me in an email, and I'll forward it to
So
Larry.
I'm using Outlook mostly for like scheduling, so
Right.
I send out like maybe sometimes 200 emails a day, if I'm doing some prospecting. I want to take that from what I'm generating on my own work.
Right.
And like put it into a database and then be able to like either add it or log it, Excel, so I can send out future things based on requirements.
I believe
Okay.
it does.
And not do it by myself.
If you use Outlook,
Yeah.
which is part of Microsoft Office, Okay, you can use Copilot for that sort of thing, to extract your data.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
You could try it, I never,
yeah, I'm gonna, like,
You basically want to take the email addresses that from who you're getting the email from.
Yeah.
You want to basically create like a data, almost like a contact database in a sense,
yes,
right?
but not actually have to store it myself, like, because on my computer, everybody sees this, the amount it memorizes about what I'm doing, or if I do a Zoom call, I get these notes now afterwards about my whole conversation. I want to find a way to better use that information so that I'm not actually having to generate, the data myself.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah, let me look into that.
I believe
Like-
it does, though.
it does.
Yeah, there's got to be something, whether it's built into Outlook or a third-party app or something.
No,
That,
I'm pretty sure Copilot will do it. It'll create a spreadsheet out of it, so.
Okay.
I can tell it to create a
Okay.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, I can create, I'm an AAS, and we have a Copilot on our systems. I can actually say, go through all my email and pull address, it'll do it. I can say, go through all my email, create a presentation about my trip to X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
It will create a PowerPoint presentation, add the pictures that I might have taken or things from and then add the context, the text that we're taking from the emails. No, create a 15-page presentation or a 5-page presentation, whatever it may be, about X, Y, Z event that I'm gonna put on.
Okay.
So it will go through all your computer as well as your email.
And like what they emailed me about, and I can do, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna report on how many emails did I receive about X, Y, and Z.
You can take a picture of the house you're about to show and put it, email somebody or email yourself and then tell it, or honestly, you can save it somehow, and then tell it to create a presentation of this house.
Okay.
It'll do it.
Mhm.
Again, always review.
Yes.
Yeah,
already.
yeah, learn that.
Yeah.
all right. Any other questions?
I have a general question of AI, not specifically related to this. We're hearing more and more about students failing class because of turning in a essentially AI-generated report, term paper, what have you.
Right.
What's your opinion, or what is the thought about how much we can rely on it if we're writing something that we're not particularly comfortable with, particularly with the subject matter? I'm thinking high school, but even college kids are increasingly getting called out for this. I'm just
Right.
curious as to people's opinion.
For me, the way that I use it is really to create something new, not really write a paper or anything, so I don't have that perspective. And maybe Mark or Sam can speak more to that on the academic side.
We also have a faculty member here, so.
Oh, yeah, Karen. I know that some of the new plagiarism tools are incorporating are able to look for that. But as far as your question is more toward, what is the stance on, how much AI, how much student, where that kind of threshold is. So yeah, maybe somebody here could better answer that because I'm not on that side.
We use a product called Canvas for all the courses that we offer in a given semester. And incorporated into Canvas is an AI component where if there is a writing assignment, the instructor can tag it as forcing it to be submitted through this plagiarism detection software component. So then it becomes up to the instructor who can review the percentage of the document perhaps being plagiarized, and then make a decision at that point per assignment. Are you following me?
So, yeah.
So they're really looking at like the percentage of percentage of AI or?
No, the percentage that the assignment that was submitted by the student.
Okay.
How much of it does this plagiarism software think that it has been
Okay.
plagiarized?
Gotcha.
And that is available to us as an instructor. So, but I do also know that each department here what AI is. We've had a number of presentations done here for the benefit of the faculty to educate them about, you know, ChatGPT, among other applications, and each area is developing their own sort of policy. So, you know, in business, AI is used quite a bit, but, you know, in a communication class like English Comp 1 or English Comp 2, well, they want to strongly encourage the students to use it only as a tool, but, you know, they are very mindful and want to discourage plagiarism.
Right.
Extensively, so.
So to echo Karen's point, is that AI is it's a valuable tool across education at all levels. So I mean, like I said before, it's a brand new technology, and we, just like when calculators came out, and people were like, oh, you can't use calculator in the classroom. But now we all use them in the classroom. So AI will be similar, and it'll be up to each individual discipline and each individual instructor to use it in its proper way, so that we continue to educate students in the modern workforce.
So if you're using a Copilot, would it scan my computer or my OneDrive, the information that I already have?
So
in order to
yes, you can absolutely do and summarize. So, and that's something we did not show here, is that you can say summarize a document. Genesis, which is the Google product, if you have something uploaded to your Google Drive and say, give me a summary of this document in 1,000 words or less, it will give you a summary of that document. Copilot does it as well for anything in like Microsoft 365, and you can actually just upload something to it. Again, remember that anything uploaded, especially in the free version, is reviewable, and it will store that information. But they all do that. So yeah, you can.
You have to direct it to.
You have to tell it. Yeah, it has to be available. So each service has different ways of being available to. So Google only lets you use Google Drive, so the Genesis. Microsoft, I think, allows you to upload just about anything. I haven't tried some of the others yet too much. So ChatGPT you can upload too.
So you're saying if I ask it to check my stuff in my computer and I don't have the paid version, then they can put it out on the public?
Yes. So the thing about, it's because when you're checking something, it requires you to upload it to the internet. So even if it was on your computer, it's now uploaded. So it can't scan your individual drive, at least the ones I've used. There might be some out there. Like I said, this is changing constantly. So there could be some now that will let you read something off your local drive. But for it to work, it has to upload this information to the internet and scan tons of data.
Right.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to work. So.
And it'll use that data as to learn from.
Yep.
And if other people are looking for similar data, it could refer back to your data that you've already put in there because it's relevant to what it's looking for or somebody else is looking for. All right. Well, like I said, this was a very basic intro. We are looking to potentially do a more intermediate. And I know I heard some people talk, thinking out loud about, some ideas that they have for utilizing this. But what do you think? Pretty good? All right, excellent. Well, I thank you all for coming out.